When it comes to strong superheroes who fight one another, there is an oddly endless supply of those fights, especially when you consider these folks are usually supposed to be on the same side. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. It's me, Amanda McKnight, aka VampX13, but you can call me Vampy, and today we'll be counting down the top 10 strongest superheroes who fought each other. Which superheroes would you like to see face off, and who do you think would come out the victor? Number 10, Jean Grey versus Emma Frost. Another epic fight between two extremely powerful psionic mutants. A couple of the most powerful psionic mutants around, I would say. These two have fought multiple times over the years, but the one that probably has defined their relationship the most is their first fight. This went down when Jean realized that Emma was one of the people responsible for twisting her mind during her time at the Hellfire Club, after Emma had also kidnapped and mistreated Storm. Now I know what you're thinking, that doesn't sound very heroic of Emma, and yes, it was not. This was during Emma's time as a villain, but Emma has since become more of a hero in the comics, and this is simply part of her past. So while she wasn't a hero yet, I'm going to count this fight because she is a hero now. And also because, like I said, it's so important to these characters' relationships with each other. Jean attacked Emma and straight up schooled her. Unsurprisingly, since Jean had the power of the Phoenix at the time. Although if we can believe what Jean has said in the past, the Phoenix actually might not even give her that much of a power boost, since she has said before that the Phoenix Force has at times been the thing that actually holds her back. Considering that Emma had been integral in hurting Jean so deeply when she was the Black Queen at the Hellfire Club, Jean would always believe that Emma deserved whatever misfortune she got. And after Emma had been so epically defeated by Jean, Emma would always pretty much be afraid of Jean, which also helped to fuel her own hatred towards her. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, be sure to show us you love us by clicking that like button. Number 9, Spider-Man versus Iron Man. Spider-Man and Iron Man are usually on the same side of things, but this isn't always the case. While it's true that Tony has acted as a kind of mentor to Spider-Man at times, both in the comics and in the MCU, it might shock you to hear that there are times when the two have actually come to blows, literal physical blows. Granted, this time that I'm talking about comes from an alternate reality as it happens in a What If comic. Specifically, we're talking about What If Spider-Man Back in Black. In this comic, we explore an alternate reality where it is MJ, not Aunt May, whose life is threatened in the story. And instead of it just being threatened, she actually ends up being killed. Peter, in response, goes even darker than he does in the original version of this story, ruthlessly attacking Iron Man as well as Kingpin. In this case, he blames Iron Man for the whole incident happening, as it was Iron Man who convinced Spider-Man to publicly unmask, putting his family's safety at risk, which honestly kind of makes sense to me, I gotta say. Peter exposes a weakness in Iron Man's armor and uses this to handily defeat them in their fight, although Iron Man later recovers and returns to personally oversee Peter's arrest. Number 8, Rogue versus Miss Marvel. A feud as old as time, some might say, or almost as old as time. If we're talking about the initial superhero fight, we have to go all the way back to the 1970s. In Miss Marvel issue number 18, it's established that Mystique has beef with Miss Marvel, the superhero moniker that Carol Danvers used at that time. She also had a very different look at the time than most people are used to when it comes to the Miss Marvel name. We wouldn't learn why exactly Mystique had it out for Miss Marvel until much later, but her promise that Miss Marvel would learn that Raven Darkholme is not a woman to be trifled with would be delivered on in 1981 in Avengers Annual issue number 10, when we saw Carol as Miss Marvel handily defeated and unceremoniously dumped into the river. A preliminary psi scan on her subconscious mind, performed by Professor X, would reveal that her assailant at the time had been none other than the mutant Rogue. So it begins. Number 7, Batman vs. Superman. Batman and Superman have fought on a few different occasions, but one of the most iconic fights between the two, for me actually, comes from Injustice. There are a few great ones to pick from when it comes to Injustice, to be honest, and Superman vs. Batman, but the one I'm going to focus on here is from Injustice Gods Among Us Year 5, issue number 25. Here, Batman basically accuses Superman of using the villain Victor Zsasz for his own means because, well, he knew Victor Zsasz was disposable. Damian wants to kill Zsasz, but Batman still attests that they should never kill, and that Damian should actually know better. When Superman shows up to question Batman's morals, Batman pops a green pill, which allows him to deck it out with Superman on an even playing field. And what's better, he wins in the superpowered fight. As he holds a beaten Superman in a chokehold, he asks Damian if this is what he wants, if he wants Batman to take Superman out permanently. What a cliffhanger to end on, too. Number 6, Superman vs. Spider-Man. Sounds like something I just made up, but this one actually did happen in the comics. You can check it out in Superman vs. The Amazing Spider-Man, headlined as The Battle of the Century, which was a crossover published between DC and Marvel in tandem. Oh, I miss the crossover days. The two end up in a fight thanks to the machinations of both Dr. Octopus and Lex Luthor, who are of course working together in this comic. They end up making it appear as though Superman kidnapped Mary Jane and Lois, and Spider-Man and Supes quickly come to blows. In the end, it's shown that Spider-Man can't cope with Superman's invulnerability, and he caves and agrees to talk out what he saw. In the end, the two realize that they've both been duped, and of course, team up to save MJ and Lois and take down the bad guys. Like so many crossover fights, it starts as a fight, but it ends as a team up. Number 5, She-Hulk vs. Hulk. These two have fought on a few occasions. One such occasion was when She-Hulk attempted to defeat Hulk during World War Hulk. She at first made an attempt to talk him down, and when that didn't work, the two ended up fighting, of course. However, while She-Hulk has stood a better chance a few times against various Hulks in the past, against the Hulk during World War Hulk, she pretty much had, well, no chance. While she still packed enough force behind her punches to level mountains, Hulk just basically shrugged them off because, yeah, he was that angry. Number 4, Blue Marvel vs. the Hulk. This one technically wasn't the Hulk as in main continuity Earth 616 Hulk, so he may have not been as strong as we know him to be, but it still counts. Blue Marvel fought the Ultimate Universe version of the Hulk in Ultimates 2 issue number 100. This took place after Earth 1610, the Ultimate Universe, had died, and Hulk was one of the few surviving heroes. And I use that term a bit loosely here, from that universe. He challenged the heroes from Earth 616 in a fight, and Blue Marvel was only happy to oblige. It's over quickly in one single panel. Hulk starts off the fight by saying that he is hungry and he wants meat. Oh yeah, did I mention that this version of the Hulk likes to eat people? Because he does that. Hulk says he gets what he wants because he is alpha and the strongest there is, but Blue Marvel responds by saying he'd dispute Hulk's claim as strongest before one punching him into defeat. Number 3, Wonder Woman vs. Superman. When I think of Wonder Woman vs. Superman, the first thought that comes to my mind is always Wonder Woman Dead Earth. It's just such a stunning, beautiful, and yet horrific and honestly really gritty looking comic. We see these two fight in a flashback where Diana decides to take out her fury and frustration on Clark, blaming Superman for what man's world has done to her home and her family, especially her mother. There was a nuclear strike on Themyscira in this Elseworld, but while that likely had some global effects at least, what really destroys the world is Superman and Wonder Woman fighting each other. They fly around the world and their collateral damage wreaks havoc on their surroundings throughout. In the end, it is shown that Wonder Woman won the fight, punching Superman through his chest. However, she ends up suffering from amnesia and doesn't recall their fight until issue number 3 of this series. Number 2, Homelander vs. Omni-Man. While Homelander and Omni-Man have never actually fought in a comic, the subject of what would happen if they did fight has inspired Death Battle to do their research and give us a hypothetical of how this could all go down. And the fact that both are set to appear in Mortal Kombat number 1 in the first combat pack has also got people talking about who would win. Personally, based on how smooth it is to play Omni-Man, which I did recently on my own channel, I have to say my money would be on him taking the cake. And even then, just from a hypothetical standpoint. Viltrumites are tough, and Omni-Man has proven himself to be one of the toughest among them. But you can check out the Death Battle vid if you want to see what the data says, at least in terms of Death Battle. And you can check out MK1 if you want to see who will come out on top in your own matches. Number 1, Thor vs. Hulk. Thor and Hulk have fought many times throughout the years. I think some of their most iconic fights though have actually happened in recent years, namely I would say in Immortal Hulk. Here Hulk proved himself as the strongest there is against Thor in their first fight, knocking out his teeth and cracking his head with one punch as Devil Hulk, and in their rematch nearly killing Thor. That's about it. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube.